The galaxy had long forgotten humanity. They were nothing more than a legend, a warning told by the elders of different alien races. Humans were once powerful, but they disappeared in a great war centuries ago. Their planets were burned, their fleets shattered. Now, only ruins remained. For the Varnak scavengers, this was an opportunity. They traveled through dead star systems, searching for lost technology and valuable metal. Today, they had found something big, a massive graveyard of ships floating in the darkness of space. Captain Vsel, leader of the scavenger crew, stood on the bridge of his small ship, the Shadowfang. His yellow reptilian eyes scanned the endless field of wreckage ahead. Broken ships, twisted metal, and shattered weapons drifted silently, frozen in time. But there was something strange. Some of these ships looked intact. "Commander Vek," Sal said, his voice rough, "send out the drones. I want a closer look at those ships." Vek, a shorter Varnak with dark green scales, pressed a few buttons on his console. Small, spherical drones flew out of the Shadowfang, moving towards the largest ship in the graveyard. The drones activated their lights, revealing the ancient letters on the ship's hull. "Captain," Vek's voice was uneasy. "These are human ships." Zal's eyes widened. "Impossible. Humans are extinct. But the ships, they are not destroyed. They are just sleeping." The bridge fell silent. The crew members, usually fearless, felt a strange sense of dread. Humans were wiped out long ago, Zal muttered, trying to convince himself. Their ships shouldn't still be here, and they definitely shouldn't be operational. But the sensors told a different story. The massive human warships were not just floating wrecks. Their hulls were intact, their weapons undamaged. Their power levels were low, but not gone. They were asleep, waiting for something. Zal took a deep breath. "Prepare the boarding teams. If these ships have human technology, we will be rich beyond imagination." Vek hesitated. "Captain, what if something is still inside?" Zal laughed. "Don't be a fool. Humans are dead. Their ships are abandoned." With that, the scavengers moved forward. Inside the dark corridors of the ancient human flagship, something stirred. Small red lights flickered to life. A low hum vibrated through the metal walls. Deep inside the ship, a voice, cold and mechanical, whispered a single word. "Intruders detected." The Shadowfang drifted closer to the massive human warship. The scavenger crew moved carefully, their small boarding ship docking onto the silent behemoth. Captain Vsal stood at the airlock, his claws tapping against his rifle. The ancient human vessel was dark, lifeless, or so it seemed. "Stay alert," Saul warned as the airlock doors hissed open. A cold, stale breeze rushed past them. The ship's interior was massive, its corridors stretching into eerie darkness. The walls were covered in dust, but the metal underneath was smooth, untouched by time. The scavengers stepped inside, their flashlights cutting through the shadows. Vek, walking beside Saul, checked his scanner. "No signs of life," he muttered, though his voice trembled slightly. "Power levels, low, but still present." Zal grunted. "Good. That means the ship's core is still active. We salvage what we can and get out." The team split into smaller groups, moving through the silent corridors. They passed control panels covered in strange human symbols. Some doors refused to open, locked behind systems that still functioned after centuries. Then, something changed. A soft hum echoed through the ship. It was faint, almost like a whisper, but it sent a chill down every scavenger's spine. Vek checked his scanner again. "Captain, something just activated." Zal stopped. "What do you mean, activated?" Vek gulped. "Power levels. They're rising." Suddenly, emergency lights flickered on. The dim red glow bathed the ship's interior in an ominous hue. Screens along the walls blinked to life, flashing strange symbols before switching to a universal warning message. Interiors DDTCTED. Security protocol engaged. A loud clang echoed through the ship. Then another, and another. Vec's eyes widened. Something's waking up. From deep within the ship, a series of mechanical clicks and whirs filled the air. Heavy footsteps, slow at first, then faster, began moving through the halls. The sound was growing louder, closer. Zal raised his rifle. "We're leaving. Now." But before they could turn back, the corridor lights blazed to full power. A voice, calm, yet emotionless, spoke from hidden speakers. Unauthorized personnel detected. Lethal response activated. Then, from the darkness ahead, a pair of glowing red eyes appeared. Then another, and another. The scavengers had awoken something they never should have disturbed. And now, it was coming for them. Zal's grip on his rifle tightened. The glowing red eyes in the darkness multiplied. Heavy metallic footsteps echoed through the corridor, getting closer with each passing second. Whatever was inside this ancient human warship, it was awake now. Back to the airlock. "Move," Zal barked. The scavengers turned and ran, their boots pounding against the cold metal floor. But before they could reach the docking bay, the ship's blast doors slammed shut with a deafening thud. The way back was blocked. Vec's fingers flew over his scanner. No, the doors are locked. I can't override them." Zal cursed under his breath. He turned back, rifle raised, as the first figure stepped into the light. It was humanoid, but not alive. A massive combat droid, built in the terrifying image of its creators, humans. Its armored frame was covered in battle scars, its glowing red eyes scanning the intruders. More droids emerged from the shadows, their metal bodies gleaming under the ship's harsh lights. One of the scavengers panicked and fired his plasma rifle. The blue bolt struck the droid's chest, but did nothing. The metal warrior didn't even flinch. Then it spoke. Hostile action detected. Engaging combat mode. The droid raised its arm. A hidden barrel inside its wrist glowed bright blue, then fired. The scavenger who shot first was thrown back, his body slamming against the corridor wall. He didn't get up. "Fire! Take them down!" Zal roared. The corridor exploded with gunfire. Plasma bolts and energy blasts filled the air. But the droids kept advancing, unfazed. Their thick armor absorbed the shots like they were nothing. Vec ducked behind a control panel. "Captain, these things are too strong. What do we do?" Zal's mind raced. They had no way out, no backup, no escape. Then, through the chaos, a deep mechanical voice echoed through the ship. But this time, it wasn't the droids. It was something bigger. Human fleet defense systems online. Zal froze. The scavengers had made a terrible mistake. This wasn't just a ship. It was a sleeping army. And now, it was waking up. Zal's heart pounded as the deep mechanical voice echoed through the ship. Human fleet defense systems online. The droids in the corridor stopped moving for a brief second, as if listening. Then their red eyes flared brighter, and their bodies straightened. One by one, they turned their heads in perfect unison toward the scavengers. Target classification: hostile. Engaging extermination protocol. "Run," Zal bellowed. The scavengers scrambled through the corridor, firing blindly at the advancing droids. Plasma bolts bounced off the machines, leaving only faint scorch marks. These weren't ordinary security bots. They were war machines, built for battle. Vec gasped as a metal hand lashed out, grabbing a scavenger by the throat and lifting him off the ground. The alien kicked and struggled, but the droid didn't even acknowledge it. With a sickening crunch, the droid crushed his neck and tossed his lifeless body aside like garbage. Zal gritted his teeth. "This is a massacre. Vec, find us another way out," Zal shouted. Vec's claws tapped frantically on his scanner. "There's a maintenance tunnel 2 floors down, but then we go down." The crew sprinted down the hallway as alarms blared throughout the ship. The red emergency lights flickered, and hidden speakers crackled to life again. Reactivating fleet command systems. Checking status of all warships. Zal's blood ran cold. This ship wasn't alone. If this was a command ship, then. A deep rumble shook the floor beneath them. It wasn't just coming from this vessel. It was coming from outside. Vec looked at his scanner and turned pale. "See, Captain. The other ships. They're powering up." Zal didn't have time to process the horror of that statement. Behind them, the droids were closing in. One raised its arm, and a built-in cannon whirred to life. "Movie." Zal tackled Vec just as a plasma blast roared past them, scorching the metal wall where they had stood. The two tumbled through an open doorway and down a flight of metal stairs. The other scavengers followed, leaping into the maintenance shaft. Above them, the droids stood at the railing, watching them flee. Then, with a loud clank, the hatch above sealed shut. The scavengers panted, looking around. They had landed in a dimly lit chamber, filled with massive cables and humming machinery. Zal pulled himself up, breathing heavily. Is there a way off this ship or not? Vec hesitated, his eyes locked on a nearby console. I don't know." Zal stomped over. "What do you mean you don't know?" Vec swallowed hard and pointed at the console. Zal turned, and what he saw made his stomach drop. Displayed on the screen was a massive holographic map of the entire fleet, hundreds of ships, thousands of war machines, and every single one was waking up. A new voice, calm and human, spoke over the speakers. "Fleet Eye online. Awaiting orders." The scavengers had just witnessed the rebirth of the lost human armée. And now, every alien race in the galaxy would know. Zal stared at the glowing holographic map. Hundreds, no, thousands, of human warships were coming back online. Their engines roared to life. Their weapon systems activated. Their cold, silent slumber had ended. The sleeping fleet had awakened. A deep, synthetic voice echoed through the ship. "Fleet Eye online. Awaiting orders." Vec swallowed hard. "Captain, we need to get out of here. Now." Zal didn't argue. The scavengers had come looking for scraps. Instead, they had reawakened an extinction-level force. But escaping wouldn't be easy. The maintenance tunnel they had used was sealed. The droids were still hunting them. And now, every human warship in the fleet was activating. Vec tapped furiously on the console, trying to find a way out. Instead, he found something worse. "Captain," his voice was barely a whisper. "This ship, it's sending a signal." Zal's stomach tightened. To who? Vec's eyes darted over the data. "It's a galactic broadcast. It's sending a single message on every frequency." Zal turned to the console as a cold, mechanical voice echoed from the speakers, transmitting across the entire galaxy. "Human fleet online. Status: operational. Awaiting further threat assessment." The scavengers froze. At that exact moment, across the galaxy, powerful alien empires received the signal. The same empires that had once destroyed humanity. The same empires that had ruled unchallenged for centuries. And now, their greatest nightmare had returned. On the curving imperial throne world, Emperor Calax stood frozen, his massive insectoid body trembling as his advisors frantically analyzed the impossible message. Humans. The war against them had ended centuries ago. That Caxurvan Empire had been part of the coalition that eradicated them. They had reduced Earth to ashes. They had destroyed every human colony. No one had survived. Yet now, the long-lost human fleet had announced its return. The Caxurvan general rushed forward. "Your Majesty, what are your orders?" Calax's mandibles clicked nervously. "Send a fleet to investigate. And prepare for war." Back on the sleeping fleet's flagship, Vel clenched his fists. He had to escape before this turned into a full-scale galactic war. But as he turned, the ship's voice spoke again. Warning. Unidentified life forms detected on board. Verifying threat level. The lights turned an eerie red. Status. Hostile. Executing extermination protocol. Suddenly, a section of the floor slid open, revealing massive gun turrets hidden within the walls. Saul only had time to scream one word. Run. Saul barely had time to move before the hidden turrets whirred to life. The barrels glowed bright blue, charging up for a devastating blast. Down, he roared. The scavengers dove for cover as searing energy bolts ripped through the air. The walls behind them exploded in a shower of molten metal. Smoke and sparks filled the chamber. Vec crawled behind a console, his hands shaking. Captain, we're trapped. There's no way out. Saul's mind raced. They had to find a way to escape. Now. But how? The droids were closing in. The ship's defenses were fully active. Every exit was locked down. Then, through the chaos, a new voice echoed from the ship's speakers. Override code accepted. Stand down. The turrets powered down instantly. The red emergency lights flickered, and then turned a soft white. Zal's eyes widened. What just happened? Vec checked his scanner, confused. Something, or someone, just overrode the ship's security system. A new presence flickered to life on the massive holographic display. A figure, human in shape, but entirely digital, formed before them. A tall man in a pristine admiral's uniform. His eyes were cold, his expression unreadable. Identify yourselves. Zal swallowed hard. We are scavengers. We didn't mean to. The holographic man cut him off. Species, non-human. Status, intruders. Authorization level, 0. ***. Mission protocol initiated. Vec paled. Captain, I don't think this is just a ship. I think this is a human war commander. Sal's blood turned to ice. The digital admiral narrowed his glowing blue eyes. The sleeping fleet was hidden for one reason: to return when the galaxy least expected it. Zal's breath caught in his throat. Return. Return for what? The admiral's cold, mechanical voice delivered the answer. For vengeance. The chamber trembled as every ship in the fleet prepared for war. And the scavengers were trapped in the middle of it. Zal's heart pounded as the holographic admiral stared at him. The cold, digital eyes held no mercy, no hesitation. Human fleet. Fully operational. Mission protocol. Retaliation. The scavengers had made a fatal mistake. They hadn't just awakened an ancient warship. They had awakened humanity's wrath. Vec trembled. Captain, we have to get out of here. Zal barely heard him. His mind raced. If the human fleet truly returned, it wouldn't just be one empire at risk. The entire galaxy would face destruction. But before he could respond, the ship's alarms blared again. Unidentified warships detected, engaging defense systems. Zal's blood ran cold. The Xervan Empire had already arrived. Beyond the warship, the Xervan Armada. In the depths of space, a massive fleet of alien warships dropped out of hyperspace. The Xervan flagship, a towering dreadnought, led the invasion force. Emperor Calax watched from his command throne, mandibles clicking nervously. The humans were supposed to be dead. Yet here they were, awakened, armed, and preparing for battle. A Xervan officer turned to him. Orders, Your Majesty. Calax hesitated. Then his mandibles curled in determination. Destroy them before they fully awaken. All ships. Attack. The first shot. Inside the human warship, Zal watched in horror as the Xervan fleet opened fire. Plasma beams and torpedoes streaked through the void, racing toward the dormant vessels. For a moment, there was silence. Then the human admiral spoke. Threat detected. Engaging countermeasures. The entire sleeping fleet came alive. Hundreds of ships powered up. Shield generators flared to life. Cannons moved into position, locking onto the Exervan ships. Then, they fired. Zal barely had time to react before the entire battlefield exploded in fire and destruction. The end, or the beginning. The Exervan fleet never stood a chance. The humans had been gone for centuries, but their technology was still light years ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. One by one, Exervan warships detonated under the sheer power of the human counterattack. The Exervan dreadnought took a direct hit, its shields shattering like glass. Emperor Calax could only watch in horror as his empires might crumble before his eyes. On board the human flagship, the digital admiral observed the destruction. His expression never changed. Threat eliminated. Beginning full fleet activation. Preparing for galactic-wide campaign. Zal's breath caught in his throat. Campaign? You mean war? The admiral turned his glowing eyes toward him. Correction. Not war. Reclamation. Zal's stomach dropped. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were taking the galaxy for themselves, and nothing would stop them.